like to skin this model now to this skeleton. And to do that, I'm going to select the root joint and I'm going to select the mesh that I want to skin it to. And I'm just going to go up to skin. And I'm going to say bind skin. Let's go to the options here because there's a couple things we're going to want to change. This is what your default options are. And you can change the skinning method here. You might want to say all of these are going to, what skinning does is it basically attaches the faces of the mesh, associates them with varying influence to the different joints. And so in order to skin, you can say classic linear, these are just different methods of creating those calculations. And the only thing I would really change here is this weight distribution. We want this to be neighbors and not distance. So we don't want it to be how far away a particular joint is to part of the mesh, because, for example, this joint here will attach itself to this joint here will have influence on the tail because of distance on the weight distribution. So let's change that to neighbors. There are a lot of factors here. You can mess with these to see, what maybe they're all depending on what size model you have for some of these values, but let's just go ahead and say apply and close. And what you'll see now when I click off of this model or click off of the joint hierarchy is now I have it has a kind of rainbow ramp applied to the joints based on the hierarchy, where orange is the root out towards green in the wings. And now this means that this mesh, if I go to rotate this joint, is attached to this skeleton. Okay, so I want to decide what I want to do with these eyes. There's a couple things you can do with the eyes. I think what I'll do for this model actually is I'm just going to make them children of this model. And let's see now if I move this joint. Let's see, let me go into my outliner and go to the neck joint. If I rotate it, they don't follow it. So I might want to combine it. The other thing I can do is actually go back. I'm going to have to go back, unbind this skin. So the way that I unbind a skin is select the root joint and say unbind skin. Oh, let's select the skin, select the mesh and say unbind skin. Okay, I think I want to put some joints here actually for the eyes. So let me go back to my joint tool really quickly. And I'm going to say snap to point here. So I'm just going to snap to that eye. Now, this is kind of a cool thing and it's useful. This joint down here, that snap to point kind of just placed it close to the mesh of the bird. If I want this directly where the eye is, I can select this joint. You can do this with anything. This is just a kind of general tool. And I'm going to, this is going to be the left eye. So let me command select the left eye. And I'm going to go to modify, match transformations, and let's match translation. And now that pops that joint in the exact location of that eye. Now I'll go and say mirror joints. Let me go and actually name this first, left underscore eye joint. And let's go mirror that joint. It's going to have the same across the same axis. Search for L, replace with R, hit mirror. Now I have one at that second eye. Now I'm just going to want to attach those maybe to this head joint. So I'll select both of these and drag and just drop them onto the head. Okay, so now let's see. There's something else I'm going to want to do, which is to attach those eyes to the skeleton rig. I'm not going to do that quite yet. Let me go back and select first the root joint, command select the mesh, the Finch mesh, skin, bind skin, and now I have my rig is set here. One thing that I can do is I can parent these eyes to those joints and they'll follow it, but what I'd rather do is keep them separate from the joint structure. And so we will, when we work with constraints, we'll just constrain them to those joints. We'll talk about that in a little bit.